Alrighty, so we're back working on the rear subframe of the 318 Ti today. So in the last video, of course, we got the rear subframe out, we installed the new diff studs, and then we also put reinforcements on the diff mounting positions on the actual subframe itself. In this video, we are going to be putting in solid bushings for the subframe, and we're also going to be replacing the old bushing on the diff with a solid bushing as well. These are Condor Speed Shop's special bushings. They're like UHMW material, so they have the stiffness of like an aluminum bushing, but they have the vibration of a poly bushing. But what makes these a little bit different than your typical bushing is these are actually riser bushings. So typically with rear subframe bushings, the thicker part of the bushing actually goes on top. But since these are riser bushings, the thin part of the bushing actually goes on top. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to raise the entire subframe in the rear by about 12 millimeters. The E30 rear subframe stock don't come with any sort of camber adjustment or toe adjustment. Since this is the only really suspension arm on the rear suspension, they don't have any adjustment built into them. So typically you would either have to get like eccentric bushings for these, or they even have like these weird weld-on tabs to be able to raise and lower the mounting points of the rear control arm. I decided against getting any of those bushings or anything to be able to adjust toe and camber that way, purely because I don't really have the money to be able to spend on all those parts along with doing bushings in the rear and all the reinforcements and everything. But what's great is these bushings will accomplish the same thing. So typically when you go to lower the rear end of an E30 or a 318 Ti, as you lower the rear end, it adds a lot of camber and it adds a lot of toe in. So what the riser bushings accomplish is it raises the entire rear subframe to essentially get rid of some of the lowering that you did by lowering the rear end. And it makes the rear suspension come almost back to as if it was at normal height, because it's raising the rear subframe to compensate for the fact that you lowered the car. If you can't tell, I'm having a really hard time trying to explain this. Once you're in the car, I think you'll be able to see what I'm talking about.
Holy shit!
Yeah, we're good.
Lots of excess pressure buildup. Nice.
Hopefully I didn't mess up the edge of this too much. I did smack it a couple times. Always want to make sure you lube up your bushings. You don't want no squeaky bushings. Now it should be easy enough. Just line it up with the guides inside the hole. Give her some nice little tippy taps. Little hammer fist action. Now getting the bottom one in might be a little annoying. Oh yeah, that's slot in like literally nothing. That's kind of concerning. We'll throw in the little rod. And that also went in like nothing. You know, this is going a hell of a lot smoother than the first time we installed bushings. All right, so now it's come time to get this diff bushing out. This one is going to be especially annoying because not only is there the bushing on the inside, but there's also a little metal ring here. I've seen people go about it by getting the rubber out and then making a cut on the ring on the inside. But all I have to do that right now is a Sawzall. And I don't know how careful I can be because I don't want to end up cutting too far and cutting into the actual housing on the diff cover. So what I want to try and do is I want to try and heat up the outside so I can try and get this to expand a little bit. And then I'm just going to try and use like a flathead or something and try to wedge it in here, or maybe just try and pound this out as one whole unit. I'll tell you what though, this bushing is absolutely toast. Like I can already just get my flathead in here. And like the rubber's not, it's barely even connected to the actual ring on the outside. Like this thing is absolutely toast. All right, so I've got a little bit of heat in it. So I want to see if I just give it some wax. Oh, well, that came out pretty easy. Well. Yeah, that thing was absolutely toast. If I just try and get in here with like the flathead a little bit and try to like bend it in. Man, it's moving, but it's also kind of messing up the edge. Do I just go Sawzall? This is going decently. Little bit at a time. All right, so I've got one cut and it's almost all the way through. I'm gonna see if I can just wedge in right here and kind of break off the rest so I don't have to actually cut into the outside casing. Oh, hey. Oh, look at that. Yo, yes, sir. Oh, bro, like fucking butter. That was nothing. And I didn't even touch the outside casing. Ain't that just beautiful? And here's a little brick of a bushing that's gonna be going in this thing. It's just gonna, boop, just plop right in there. I think what I might do to make this a little bit of an easier install is I'm gonna reheat the outside of this, try and get it to expand a little bit. And then of course, grease it up and we're just gonna fucking bop it in. Alrighty, we got a big socket. Now, if I'm being frank with you, I'm not quite sure how far I need to put this in because there's still room on the backside. I don't know if you want it to be like pretty much centered. You know, probably needs to be centered. Yeah, so I'm gonna just try and center it so there's an even gap at the front lip versus the back lip. I think we should be able to call it good there. I'm thinking that looks pretty even-ish. Maybe a little bit more, Okay, maybe a little bit more. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. I am a fan of that. So now that we have that done, pretty much all we have left to do is put this back in the subframe and get the subframe back in the car. But before we get to that, I want to do a quick fluid change on this because ever since I welded the diff on this thing, I have yet to do a diff fluid service. I'm gonna go drain this out, put some new fluid in it, and then we're gonna get this thing back in the subframe, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the subframe back in the car before it gets dark. And then hopefully go for a little bit of a test drive. So since I'm running the 12mm riser bushings, I need a way to be able to keep the diff in its original position. And thankfully in the kit comes these little 12mm spacers. So these are just gonna sit on the bolts, on the diff, in between the diff and the subframe. That way it'll keep the diff lower and keep it in line with the original position where it was with the drive shaft and the axles. These diff studs are gonna make it a hell of a lot easier to be able to do the install on this because it's literally just as easy as getting it lined up and then bringing the diff up through the holes with the studs. Alrighty, it's all ready to go. I just got the axles back on, got them all torqued down. Everything is back together, and this thing is finally ready to go back underneath the TI. Oh, that side's about to push out the bushing. 1 second.
Oh no. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that.
All right, progress update. We got the bushings all torqued down to 103-ish foot-pounds, but now we're running into a bit of an issue. We have the diff bolt nut, but we don't know where the diff bolt is. So, yeah, we got some searching to do. How was work today, honey?
Come on, Ding, say bye to me. You were gone. Where's Jamie's?
Progress update. Found the diff bolt. Diff is torqued down. Everything's torqued down. I'm working on the brake lines right now. We have the parking brake cables back in. Things are going swimmingly. I'm assuming we should have this thing back on the ground, hopefully within the hour. It's going good. Woo! Cut. All right, well, Kellen's back there tightening up the exhaust. And that means we're all done. Aside from having to bleed the brakes. So once we bleed the brakes, then we're done. That came back together a lot better than I was expecting, if I'm being honest. The hardest time we had was like finding lost hardware. So that's nice. Damn, I can't wait to see what this feels like. This is so exciting. Surprisingly, there wasn't much air in the brakes. I don't know if it just kind of like self-bled itself and then just had to get like a very tiny amount of air out of the last bit of the lines. But overall, everything seems real good to go. And all we have left to do now is drop the thing. So it did end up taking out, here, you guys see? It did end up taking out a bit of camber in the rear. I don't know if I have any comparison to be able to show you guys. I'll try and probably find something. If not though, I can assure you that this is a lot less camber and it has a decent amount less toe in. It still looks like a lot, but if anything, before it was even worse. But I guess let's get this thing off the ramps and go at least start her and drive her around the loop real quick. All right, if you're wondering, yes, I did end up changing clothes because I had to move the ROM. There's no way I'm gonna drive in the ROM with dirty clothes. I need to go off straight. Already, surprisingly, I don't notice much more vibration. I'm curious to see what tight turns feel like. It feels so much better back there. So yeah, before, when I would make tight turns at low speed, the rear end would feel like it was like going back and forth like this, and both wheels were skipping in a weird way. But now I can just feel the inside wheel is skipping and nothing else. Throttle response feels fucking stupid now too. Like before, like it would be like a Dude, but now it's just...
Nice.
So we'll just do like a quick little... Hey, light came back on!
Nice.
I can't tell if that's just more diff noise being transmitted into the car. I think that's just the diff.
That loud ass one?
Yeah.
There's no way.
I'm fairly certain. It's coming like
Holy
dead center
cow.
middle. It feels so much more direct. Like it just wants to squat and go. Also, it's at 0 camber now. Well, there's still a little bit of camber. Less camber though. So theoretically, it should hook a lot better and not want to spin through second gear in like the first or third. Ready?
Yep.
Oh,
Damn.
it feels so much more stable when it's spinning. Like it still spins, but
yeah.
it's just there.
Yeah.
Like the rear end just stays
can
there.
control it.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
Holy hell. Wow.
That's crazy.
That was crazy. This shit must have looked like it took off like a rocket ship. Ready?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Damn.
It almost seems like it wants to spin more.
That,
In a weird way. I don't know how that works, but it feels so much more stable and less sketchy. That's stupid.
Damn.
That is stupid. Holy shit.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Wow. Okay. I thought.
Oh, God.
What a great way to break in the new rear end.
That's awesome.
That's stupid.
That's awesome.
Before, you just felt like a lot of movement in the rear end, and it would spin, but it never felt stable. But now once you get into it, like it just squats evenly and just pushes. And even if it starts getting squirrely, like it stays straight, and it doesn't feel like it's moving around. Jeez. Okay, well I guess we got our driving video in for the night. Hopefully the footage turned out decent. But goddamn, what a stress test. Alrighty, so it's the next day. I've got to say, the new bushings that we put in the rear made all of the difference for this car, and I feel like it's exactly what the compact needed. Right now, though, I've just got the compact up in the air. I'm going over a few things here and there, because actually tomorrow, I've got a drift event that I'm going to. This will be the first event that the compact has seen in, like, gosh, 5 or 6 months. And it's got a new engine, new coilovers, stiffer rear end, and I'm just really excited to see how this thing is going to perform. But I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.